So guys, so we'll wait for the rest of our participants a bit, if you don't mind. Yeah, so I hope you can hear us well and you can see us well and everything works okay. Today we're talking about flow charts and we discussed the writing task number one. If you don't mind, it's we are very much open to the questions of yours if you have any, and it's absolutely okay to ask any questions just because the processes require your questions. Let me introduce myself. So I'm Karina, and I'm today working with my colleague Dasha. We are both art tutors, and we teach art for many, many years. So we are very much into it, and we initiated this webinar for those who are not new and rather new to IELTS. So I think we can begin. The main aim of our today's class is to show the myth that are unclouded, yeah, so that are around the processes. And so all of those flowcharts and processes, they are very much unexplored. There are very many myths around, and all those samples and mock answers you could see in the net, they are very ambiguous. Yeah, so some samples are very vague. Yeah, so they are not exact, and everything you see on the net that is like nine band nine. Yeah, so it's very strange. Just because vocabulary differs, lexis differs, some patterns differ, and then our aim is just to teach. To show you how to work with processes and flowcharts. Today we'll discuss two of them, and the first one is going to be sugar cane. So the sugar cane, this type of a graph, you can see it on your screen. Um, Let me show you what's happening here. You can see the cane. Yeah, that's the step number one. It's growing. Then it's divided into two parts. So then it's harvested. Okay, you see something happens to it then, so it's crushed. Yeah, and after that, you see the juice, yeah, so which is purified. Then the juice evaporates. You would see some machines, which is a centrifuge, and some sugar is dried and cooled. There are some elements, yeah, and many students get stuck. What should I write here? What should I do? Yeah, so do I need to just list all of the steps? Do I need to name them all? Can I use the words from the picture? Actually, you can do everything, but now we'll try to play a sort of a game. So let's work with an overview paragraph.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Right now, we will practice identifying, for example, whether their overalls provided are okay, are or not okay. And if they're not, we're gonna discuss why they're not okay. The reasons behind they're not okay. So the first, yeah, we have here the first overview paragraph for this particular task that you can see on the screen. And our question is in Russian is going to be normally стрём. Yeah, but you can write in Russian, you can write in English in the chat. Please take your time, yeah, to read overall right now and type in our Zoom chat whether it's okay or not okay to write like this. Okay, who else? Is it okay or not okay to write like this? Waiting for everybody. Okay, who else? Yeah, not so good. It's okay, Norm. Okay, so we have different opinions. Yeah, it's sтрём. Or in English, it's gonna be it's not okay. And the reason why it's not good is we have only the ending and the beginning of the process, right? So we have like starting by farming sugar canes and ending by dry sugar ready to use. Like, but what happens like in the middle of the process? Like practically the major part of the process, right? Except, oh no, sorry, the major part of the process has been left out. There is nothing about, like, for example, um, harvesting, right? Crushing, purifying, evaporating, separating sugar crystals from sugar. Like the major part of crucial steps are left out. We have no idea what is happening between, for example, farming sugar canes and when we have like dry sugar ready to use. Yeah, so when you just write only endings and only beginnings, you will end up with an overall that is incomplete. And yeah, that's the reason why it's not the way for you to go. Please don't just list the beginning and the end because yeah, it will lead you into nowhere. Yeah, that's it. Let's take a look at the next one. Take your time. Yeah, too detailed. Not good. A lot of listing. Perfect. Thank you. Nice, nice. Definitely, definitely. Yeah, so in contrast to the previous one, right? Here we have a two complete overall. An overall that is too detailed because every single step is listed. Check it out. We have like growing, harvesting, crushing, purifying, evaporating, separating, drying, and cooling. Yeah, what else is to write in your two main body paragraphs, right? What else is left to write in your two main body paragraphs? There is not so much left. So please never do that and never do that. Listing will lead you nowhere. Uh-huh, Karina.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose we can show you some more overviews. Here is the set overview. Let me read it for you and you'll decide whether it's good or not. So overall, well, the sugar production process is highly mechanized and efficient. The initial harvesting of sugarcane remains a critical step. It can still involve human labor or machinery, reflecting a blend of traditional and modern agricultural practices. I want you to evaluate it, whether it's good or not. So let me please know in the chat whether it's good, it's efficient, it's nice, or something's wrong. You can even mark a plus or a minus in the chat if you like it, or you can comment it. If you like it, is it 7 plus or not? Too personal. What makes it personal? Yelena, if you don't mind, you can write down what makes it too personal. Okay, good. For my opinion, in your opinion, good. Be very, very careful. So, all those samples on the net just teeming with examples like that. Actually, this overview is not good again. So probably, yeah. So a critical is not only critical, there are some other things. It sounds not like a description of a graph, more like an essay. Very right, Elena. Absolutely. Let's look at those words that are outside of the scope of a task. These words are like highly mechanized. Do we actually know whether it's highly or not? Is it efficient or not? Critical step. Oh, that's over the top. Yeah, so that's the vocabulary that shows your personal opinion rather than just facts and factual information. Factual information here is not present. Of course, there is some like mechanized, yeah, so it's rather factual or like initial harvesting of sugar remains. That's why we highlighted only those words which are extra, like reflecting a blend of traditional and modern agricultural practices. That's again over the top. While describing a process, you never need to add your personal opinion or show the reflection, yeah, on those which you think that, oh, let me add some historical reference. Please never do that. Okay, and the last overview for our today's practice. let's look at it. The biggest. Okay, we'll give you some time. You'll read it and let us please know whether it's okay or not. Be very attentive. Too long. Svetlana, what element is extra? What makes it long? Good. Again, it would be cool if you mentioned what makes it good. The last sentence. Something's wrong about the last sentence. You're very much right. Let me show it. You got it absolutely correct, and pay attention to the words that are extra, like comprehensive, okay, traditional, or advanced. These words show your opinion or just some historical context, and absolutely right that the details in the last paragraph, sentence, they are over the top and enhances efficiency consistency, ensuring the quality of sugar produced meets industry standard. Oh, of course not. We at least we don't know because the graph never shows it to us. We can't simply make this conclusion because it's not depicted, right? You can never say just by looking at all those processes in IELTS. You can make some suggestions, but that's only a place of an essay. Yeah, where the suggestions can take place. Okay, let's sum it up. So while writing an overview paragraph, you have to follow some rules. Handash, would you introduce all of those rules?
Okay, let's take a look at it. How to write an overview paragraph. But actually, the most important conclusion that Karina has just drawn is that never write like anything that is not shown on the task. And that is the most important one that Karina has just mentioned. But yeah, there are some. For example, first we need to identify what type of process it is. And it can be manual or mechanical. For example, if it is manual, there is human labor involved, like in harvesting stage. You see, yeah, that the harvesting of sugarcane can be performed right with the help of some human labor. So we can say that this process is partially, yeah, or like it's like it involves some human labor. And it is also mechanical because you have like some heavy machinery is depicted on the chart, right? You see that some heavy machinery is depicted on the chart. And also we have some equipment, some crusher, like purifier, evaporator, centrifuge, right? Like some pieces of equipment are depicted on the chart. So this chart is more mechanical rather than manual, though it has some ideas, right? Though it has some um, human labor, yeah, involvement. That's the first one. The first one, identify what type of process it is. Yep. And then the next one is figure out how many steps there are and how any of the steps can be grouped together into key stages. Use umbrella terms. Because remember, for like the first overall and the second overall, like the first overall just mention the first and the second steps. And that's not enough. That's not enough because there is no clear picture what is going on the chart, what is going on in the process. And when you just list every single step of your chart, this is also not and not okay, right? Because like what else is left to write in your two main body paragraphs? And you don't summarize, you don't group, you do not compare when you just list all of the steps in your overall, right? So what we need to do is figure out how many steps there are. And here we have seven of them. Yeah, we have 7 steps. The next question that you need to ask yourself, how any of the steps can be grouped together into key stages. We need to find some logic to somehow divide all of our 7 steps into key stages. They can be like 2 stages, like 3 stages, 4 stages, but not too many. Not too many. And it's better to use umbrella terms. For example, you decide to combine, for example, the first 2 stages, like growing and harvesting, because they have a lot in common, right? They have a lot in common, and they're mainly focused around farming, right? Like the main idea of these first two, like of these first, the first 2 key stages is farming. So you combine them. You combine the first the first steps. Into one key stage and you name it as farming. This is going to be an umbrella term because if we draw an umbrella, right, this is going to be our umbrella. It includes, right? It includes something. For example, umbrella, this is going to be your key stage and the way you name it. And it will include steps of your process. Of your process. And we can also, for example, name step 3, step 4. Like we can also combine the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh steps together into one key stage and name it with an umbrella term. We can also do that. And in this case, we want to teach you this word which is called processing, because processing involves all of these like steps, like crushing, purifying, evaporating, separating, drying, and cooling, all of their changes that, for example, that can be made to raw material to make it into an end product. So in this case, like these 7 steps can be divided into 2 key stages, and we're gonna name them with umbrella terms, which are farming, namely growing and harvesting, and processing, which involves crushing, purifying, evaporating, separating, drying, and cooling. So with the help of this, like this key step, right? When you figure out how many steps there are, how these steps can be grouped together into key stages, and when you use umbrella terms to name these key stages, you show the examiner that you can summarize, you can group, you can compare, you can contrast. You show your IELTS academic skills. Okay.
Right, so be very attentive to the criteria. In the criteria, you'll see compare where relevant, summarize where relevant. That is a relevant place to compare and summarize. So the third rule is just figure out where the process takes place, right? So that might be a plant, a farm, a field, a recycling center, a factory. It can be anything. Why to point that out? Because it can help you to come up with the vocabulary. It can at least show you that it differs, right? And you can use this information in your overview paragraph, separating that the part of the process happens in the farm, the part of the process happens in the factory, for example. That's again your ability to analyze information. So by showing this simple thing, you show an examiner that you are able to analyze what you see. For example, this picture, we see that it's visually divided into 2 places. The first place is we can call it a field. Why not? So it can be, or a farm. These words like farm or field are rather wide. So they are not showing your opinion because it's a fact, right? And you can name steps 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 together, you can group them and say that they happen on a plant or on a factory, right? Because it's about the machinery, yeah, it's about the production line, something rather than a field. The fourth rule. Okay, let's look at the fourth rule. The last but not the least, right? So you have to figure out what happens during the process. You can recall that today we looked at the overviews which describe lots of details. You never need to do that in your overview paragraph. Yeah, you just really need to combine the information, eliciting key stages, key elements. Don't begin, just don't use what it starts with and what it finishes and it ends with. And you really need to summarize, analyzing where it happens, key stages, then manual, mechanical, and probably just the fourth element, which we wrote separately, showing that what happens during the process. Uh, it just um, it helps you to analyze what's going on without losing key information. Let me read a quick note. What beautiful picture. Okay, thank you so much for your comments. Yeah, very pleasant to hear that. If you combine all of these four rules, it's going to be a very good overview. That's going to be a 7.0 or higher overview where you'll be able to show your ability to group, to analyze, to compare, and summarize. That is what criteria says. So in the task achievement criterion, it said that please try to address the task fully, and while addressing the task, we don't need to list. Yeah, we need to show, just presenting like in the media, for example, what it's generally about, what is the key element, yeah, and what is the result. But something's wrong about all those processes. Handash, would you please tell what's wrong?
Yeah, the thing is, they are kind of, you should treat every single flow chart that you have individually, because there is no template for you to use, like mindlessly, like without paying attention to what is going on the chart. So yeah, that's one of the key takeaway message that you need to grab from this lesson is that there are no templates. You should treat every single chart individually. And right now, we're gonna show you of course, yeah, we're not gonna just hand like their overview on a silver platter to you. We want to, to include, like, we want to include you in some, for you to make some exercises, to do some exercises. And right now, we'll give you some time to fill in the gaps. Take a look at the chart on the right. Yeah, take a look at the overview on the left. And please fill in the gaps. Fill in the gaps. And we have already partly discussed some of the vocabulary that you could use here, that you can you can use filling in the gaps. Take your time right now, the first, the second, and the third gaps. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mechanized. What else? Mechanized, mechanical, manual, machinery. Perfect. Of course, of course. Perfect. Nice job. Great work. Yeah, we can also like automate it, right? It's like it's a two-stage process during which is extracted from sugarcane. Juice extracted from sugarcane is processed into sugar. Notably, the process is largely automated, except for the harvesting stage, that can be done either through manual methods or through the use of heavy machinery. Yeah, thank you. And I want also to draw your attention to the way, like although I've told you that there are no templates, still you can use some. We highlighted some parts that can help you to come up with a complete overview. So take a look. It's a two-stage process during which juice, and you work with the juice, right? Because like juice is transformed into sugar, yeah? Extracted from sugar cane, and here we have our sugar canes, is processed into sugar. So you see that you name the source of our raw material. Juice is going to be our raw material. Yeah. And then you need to specify where it comes from. What is the source of this raw material? It comes from sugarcane, and you name it. And then you kind of sum it up with the end product. Yeah, because juice is processed into sugar. So you name raw material, you name the source of this raw material, and you sum it up with the end product, with the end result. This is the first way to look at your overview. Yeah, the way you can summarize it, the way you can group it, the way you can write it in a more precise, flexible, and at the same time clear way. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. We have lots of them. Take a time to fill in the gaps. Karina, by the way, has mentioned this point. Perfect, yeah. But not farm, yeah, field. Farm, it should be like with a cattle. Scott, yeah. Factory, yeah, field and factory. Sure. Perfect. So in this case, it's gonna be sugar canes are grown in the field and then processed in the factory. So we yeah, field factory. So what we did here, we divided all of the steps into two key stages, right? And we highlighted that the place changes, right? And maybe that's the reason, that's the logic behind our division of all the steps into two key stages, right? That the first stage happens in the field, while the second stage happens in the factory. So that's one more way for you to look at the division of steps into two key stages. The place, yeah, the place grown in the field, processed in the factory. Okay.
We'll continue working on overviews. We're prepared to move. And now, please, let's look at the third one. Two words are missing. What are they? Largely mechanical process comprising two main stages. I think you've seen this phrase before, right? But then we've changed something. What is it? You already know these words because we also discussed them. Actually, some words from the graph can help you. Good job. Let me show you the answers. So here they are, farming and processing. Harvesting is also a good one because it's very similar. Yeah, it can be a synonym to the word farming. Farming is a bit more of an umbrella term. Yeah, growing of sugarcane. I want to agree that growing can be a perfect word here. Yeah, you can actually use that, but growing is not the same as farming because harvesting is also included there. Growing is only the name of the very first step, right? But farming includes harvesting as well. So while choosing a word for the description of your overview, yeah, of the process. So then opt for the one which is wider, which is not that narrow. For example, processing. What does it include? It includes everything: crushing, purifying, yeah, and so on and so forth. I suppose all of you answered processing, many, at least many of you. It can be crushing, Constantine. No, crushing of the crop is just one thing, but we need to group them by using the word processing. Let me read it to you. Overall, this is a largely mechanical process comprising two main stages. Let me remind you that there is some slight difference between step and stage. So step is like this tiny thing, tiny bit, yeah, but the stage is like a group of steps. That's why there are two. And we try to give them some names, which are farming. The first name is farming, the second name is processing. Yeah, I hope it's clear now. And we've got one more overview. Let's look at it. So before I'll ask you to write an overview, we'll discuss the next type of the process, which is the chocolate production. So this diagram shows how chocolate is produced. Briefly, we'll discuss. So we have chocolate tree, then some pods, which are harvested, fermentation process, spreads in the sun, two, so beans roasted. Then we have some shells which are removed, crunching, the inner part pressed. We have that some parts are melted and then molded. Guys, let's look at the overview of this graph. Das will show. Some words are missing. Let's work. Let's work with these missed words. Please fill in the gaps. Now, no sugar canes are here. Maybe you got tired of sugar canes. We actually did. Try to guess what part of speech is missing. Maybe one hint that I'm gonna give you, the grammar is the same.
And practically all of the words are mentioned on the chart. Just look carefully.
Yeah, you don't need to just create them from scratch. Nothing to devise. Yeah, so you don't need to think much. Look at the graph and you can take everything from there. We want to show you some possibilities. So some opportunities. Which are they? Harvesting? So you harvest pods? For sure. What else can we do with the pods? We can only harvest them. We can't farm them. No, actually, because we don't actually see that they were farmed. We see just a tree. We don't know how exactly it was farmed. Yeah, so it continues with processing beans. That's an umbrella term we've learned. What is included into processing? Fermentation, spread, roasting, crushing, four of those things. Yes, Ivan, absolutely correct. So we process them. And what do we end up with? With molding the resultant chocolate. I also want to encourage you to learn the word resultant, right? Because it's an adjective. What type of a chocolate? It's like the end product. Yeah, the end product is the resultant chocolate. Because actually we can speak about step number 7. Is it chocolate? Type of. Number 8 is a chocolate typo. But number 9, it's the resultant chocolate. It's the end product. Yeah, so it's a good vocabulary to learn. Overall, 3 words: harvesting, processing, molding. And in this overview, you can easily see that we underline some phrases: begin, continue, end. You can ask us a question like, how on earth? You just said we can't use words like begin and finish. But in this case, we try to summarize it, right? We try to group some steps, not just listing them. Yeah? In this case, we began not just with cocoa tree, but we began with harvesting pods, which is different rather than saying beginning with cocoa tree. Okay? So in this case, you can follow this pattern saying it begins with, continues with, and ends with. Uh, that's absolutely okay if you group it by 3 steps. Sorry, 3 stages. Yeah, do you have anything to add?
No, no.
Mm.
Yep, and right now we're gonna focus on main body paragraphs, and usually there are like two. Yeah, there are two body paragraphs, and you need to describe the whole process step by step, right? That is the time for you to give more details on their stages that you have summarized and grouped and partly described in your overview. And of course, one of the ways for you to present these steps, right? Because this is like a step-by-step, or like a step-by-step description of all of the 9 steps that are depicted on the chart. And one of the ways that a lot of students like resort to when it comes to this step-by-step description is using the following cohesive devices as a template, of course. Yeah, like first, then, next, after this, following this, finally. So our question is it okay like to describe the process using these cohesive devices? Starting every single sentence with with this template. Can you please type in our Zoom chat whether it's okay or not okay?
You can write a plus or a minus. Participles. Participles are good.
Yeah, so Slana, okay, every single sentence. No, I doubt it. Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Would you start every single sentence with one of the cohesive devices mentioned, like in this list?
I'd maybe add that there is no harm in first and then and next. But there is some danger in using them all the time.
Yeah, like when you start every single sentence with such a like template, with such a template, it of course it draws attention. If it draws attention, it shows you that you have just memorized something, right? And just and use it mindlessly. Yeah, so you don't pay attention to maybe some individual features of the chart that should be described. Yeah, and of course, you kind of when you use such templates, you rob yourself of the chance to show off your grammar range, because grammatical range can help you to like first of all of course to show off your grammar, but at the same time to to make the transition between the steps smooth. So for example your first like your maybe your like your first steps, right? And then you have the second step which builds on the previous step but still adds something new, and every single sentence add like it builds on the previous one but still adds something new with the help of the grammar. There is a smooth transition between your steps. Yep, that's it. So please don't do that. I mean, like if you want to have like 6.5 or higher, this is not the way for you to go. And we'll show you some of the ways that you can yeah, that you can utilize in your chart descriptions to make the transition between the steps of the chart smooth. Yeah, smooth. So let's watch it. Let's watch the patterns, and then we're gonna practice these patterns.
Chocolate has a millennia-old history, originating from the cacao tree in Central and South America. Ancient civilizations revered it as a divine gift, consumed as a bitter beverage. Chocolate begins with the cocoa bean, which are harvested from cocoa trees thriving in tropical regions worldwide, including Africa, South America, and Asia, and then transported to the chocolate factory. The initial stage of the process involves inspecting and cleaning, where workers meticulously examine the beans, eliminating any debris or flawed ones. This meticulous process is crucial to guarantee the ultimate quality of the final product. Next, roasting the beans is a pivotal step as it enhances both the flavor and aroma of the cocoa. The beans undergo meticulous roasting at a precise temperature to prevent any scorching. This stage typically spans from 30 minutes to an hour, tailored to achieve the desired flavor profile. After roasting, they undergo a cracking and crushing process to separate the cocoa nibs from the outer shell, a procedure commonly referred to as crushing and winnowing. The outer shell is then discarded, while the cocoa nibs are utilized in the chocolate-making process. Then the cocoa nibs are ground into chocolate liquor, a fine paste comprising cocoa solids and cocoa butter, crucial for chocolate production. This grinding process demands hours of patience and skill to attain the desired texture. Next, mixing and refining the chocolate. During this process, cocoa solids, cocoa butter, and additional ingredients such as sugar, milk powder, and vanilla are blended to form a smooth, creamy chocolate mixture. The mixture undergoes multiple refinement stages to achieve the desired texture and flavor, with the duration varying from a few hours to several days based on the type of chocolate being produced. After the chocolate mixture is prepared, various ingredients such as nuts, fruits, and flavorings can be incorporated to impart a distinctive taste and texture to the chocolate. This is where the ingenuity of chocolate makers shines through. Now it is ready for tempering. Tempering involves heating and cooling the chocolate to precise temperatures to achieve a glossy and velvety texture. The meticulous process, requiring hours of expert precision, prepares the chocolate for molding into diverse shapes and sizes using specialized molding machines. Packaging the chocolate marks the final step, wherein it is enveloped in foil or paper before being enclosed in boxes or bags. This packaging is meticulously crafted to maintain the chocolate's freshness and safeguard it during both shipping and storage. Thank you for watching, and see you in another episode.
Okay. Just give me a minute.
It was very mouth-watering. Couldn't take my eyes off it.
But the thing, yeah, but like the point that we want to draw your attention to, that there is no mechanical description. Like first, just give me a minute. First, I don't like cocoa, first, like cocoa pods are harvested, then they are fermented. Like next, they are spread in sun to be exposed to this, like to sunlight. Like because this description, this way of presenting key steps is mechanical. It is mechanical, it is repetitive, and it does not it robs you of the chance to show off your grammar. But instead, we'll show you some of the ways that you can use from this particular video of some of the ways to present these steps. For example, the first one, chocolate begins with the cocoa beans, which are harvested from cocoa trees thriving in tropical regions worldwide, including, and then transported to the chocolate factory. But we are mostly interested in the phrase, chocolate begins with. So instead of saying firstly, which is kind of a lot of examiners are already fed up with, you show another way to present the first step of the process. And right now, we want you to write the first step of this particular process, which is manufacturing instant noodles. So, guys, take this opportunity, right, to memorize and incorporate this particular pattern in your set of patterns. Yep, that you can and you can easily retrieve these patterns as soon as like during your exam. Yeah. So instant noodles begin with what?
think you can show an example on the previous slide once again.
Begin with collecting flour from storage silos and transporting it to the factory. Yeah, it's possible, nice. Okay. Begin with transporting flour from storage silos to the factory. Yeah, thank you. Transporting flour from storage silos to the factory. Thank you. Yeah, like both ideas, they match. They're just a different phrase and different wording. Thank you. So this is a way for you, yeah, to introduce the first step instead of just writing of beaten firstly. Okay, Karina.
Yeah, let me show you the second pattern, which I personally really like. It's so simple to use, but instead of next or following that, you can utilize phrases like after, once, or when, which are rather simple, and you can use a clause. Clauses are good because it will give you an opportunity to range your grammar. Let me show you what's happening here. Once the chocolate mixture is prepared, okay, that's sort of a stage. Mixture is prepared. Various ingredients, such as nuts, fruit flavorings, can be incorporated to impart a distinctive taste and texture to the chocolate. Again, we are very much interested in the first part of this phrase because there are some options. If you already used when, you can opt for once or after, because at the same time, it shows the position, the order of the steps that are happening. So first, the mixture is prepared, then ingredients are incorporated. And please, when you describe the process, use this one to vary the structure. And at the same time, it's a good cohesive device. I wouldn't name it a device, but it's a good phrasing. So please look at this process and try to use the expression once something is done. Yeah, and we see this process. We've already looked at it. We can describe the part, the step number 3 or 4, and write down your sentence, which can be rather small, in a chat. Once something is done, when something is fermented, when something is tempered, what happens next? So that should be like the combination of 2 steps in one sentence. Once something is done, when something is done, and instead of done, you can use a verb, yeah, like prepared, harvested, roasted, and so on. Once cocoa pods are harvested, they undergo fermentation. Okay, actually, that's right. Yes, yes. At the same time, you can use the length. Yeah, for how long it lasts. Once beans roasted, no, you don't need to use done. And please mind the punctuation because you, after the first clause, you really need to use comma. Please separate two clauses with a comma between. Okay, when something's done, comma, and then you continue without the word then. Elena, yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah, so you use the punctuation. They undergo fermentation for maximum. Yeah, instead of maximum, you can use up to, or the fermentation which lasts up to 10 days, for example. When beans are fermented, from 2 to 10 days, beans are fermented from 2 to 10 days. They are spread in sun. When they are fermented, you can actually use, yeah, from 2 to 10 days. You can use brackets here. For example, why not? They are spread in sun. The beans. Okay, that's a good substitution at the same time because that's also about the beans, but not actually that just these beans. Yeah, maybe, but no, these are these beans. Do you have any comments on the answers? I think
Once beans roasted, beans are crushed, I guess, right? Konstantin, once beans are roasted, and
and
then
they.
they are crushed.
Mhm,
Because you repeat the word beans 2 times. This is unnecessary repetition.
mhm,
And I also want to draw your attention to the fact that here we have 2 different subjects. Yeah, the chocolate mixture is prepared, and then various ingredients can be incorporated, right? So 2 different subjects, we combine 2 different steps, and we show the sequence. Yeah, like what steps follows after what steps. Yeah, the sequence of steps, the order of steps. But you can also use this pattern to explain one step only when you have only one subject, one and the same subject. For example, after once when the crop is harvested, it is taken to the factory for processing. So you see that here you don't need to repeat the crop, like you are talking only the crop. Yeah, the crop. That is your main subject. Yep. And once the crop is harvested, it is taken to the factory for processing. So this is about crop. So you're kind of describing the changes, you're describing the sequence of changes, but when your sentence has one subject only. And we also want to show you a more sophisticated version to this particular pattern, and you will practice a more sophisticated version. When you have one subject, but 2 verbs. Let me show you. Once, when harvested, the crop is taken to the factory for processing. So what it used to be like this, it used to be the crop is harvested, it is taken to the factory for processing. Yeah, we can regard it a little bit bulky, right? We can make it more precise, more concise, more like shorter version. Like once when harvested, the crop is taken to the factory for processing. Like the full version will be like once the crop is harvested, it is taken to the factory for processing, right? But you make it but you reduce some parts that can be easily left out from the sentence without distorting the meaning of the sentence. And what we want you to do right now is to practice this pattern. When you have one subject and 2 changes to the subject.
I only want to mention that if you opt for this pattern without the word in between, without subject, you can't actually use after, right? In the previous option, you could. Once the crop is harvested, after the crop is harvested, all 3 options are okay. But if you reduce the clause, yeah, so that's a reduced clause, then you can't actually use the word after. You have to choose either once or when. Please pay attention to that. You can just modify those examples which you already wrote. Try to make them more concise. No, Svetlana, we can't use the word after. That's what we've discussed. Only once or when. After is prohibited. No after in this case.
And Sana, you have a lot in one sentence. Take a look. For example, once roasted, beans are crushed, right? Because you have outer shells are removed. It's kind of a lot. A lot. Maybe we can kind of transform it a little bit to make it more, like to make it more maybe readable. Yeah, that once roasted, beans are crushed with outer shells removed. It's like the result of this.
Being removed.
Yeah, just it can be being
But
removed.
it can be yes, in this case. Okay. Or this could be two separate sentences.
Yeah, two separate sentences also works.
Or comma before and. If there is no comma before and, then it means that salter shells are also roasted, which is a mistake. It can't be so. Again, Konstantin, no commas. I understand barely anything. Then a tempering stage is complete. You miss a verb.
Or something like this. I guess I wrote to Svetlana's sentence. Yeah, once roasted, beans are crushed with outer shells removed. Yep, and we have one more left.
Let's discuss. That's a beautiful one. Maybe while watching a video, you notice this pattern. Maybe you haven't paid any attention, but I want to read it, the sentence. Packaging the chocolate marks the final step. Look at how beautiful it sounds. Instead of finally, instead of all of those words like the final step is, here is the phrase marks the final step. What marks the final step? Packaging. Or in this case, molding marks the final step. Where exactly in this stage? It's enveloped in foil or paper before being enclosed in boxes or bags. So together, you can use mark the final step and we're in. And we want you to practice this pattern, but using a different chart. Let's look at it. Noodles again. What marks the final step? Wherein it is. So what marks the final step? Some expressions missed. Your task is to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, just please put the name of this step, here, because at the previous we have packaging the chocolate, right? Packaging the chocolate, and just mention labeling and sealing here, and then explain it in more detail.
Oxford comma. Yeah, but Oxford comma is different thing. Yeah, so we use Oxford comma when we enumerate, some steps, and before the final element. Oxford comma is a good thing. And actually, that can be your last sentence. yeah, in your body paragraph. While preparing for IELTS, we'll recommend not to use any grammarly or other characters while writing. Okay, I have a doubt about ampersand here. Sounds very informal because of it. Be careful. So don't opt for ampersand between label and ceiling. Oh, that might be not the appropriate sign to use in IELTS academic. Mark the final step wherein labels are put on the packages of instant noodles. Not only labels. Yes, yes. You usually decided to shorten it. Okay. Yeah, we can add some more. So labels and some seals was applied. A seal, yeah. Not only labels. So if you name both of them, label and sealing, like packaging, mark the final step, wherein labels are put and seals. Sorry, some extra sound.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to show you that in just packaging, for example, packaging there, instant noodles marks the final step. Wherein, of course, not it is because we have instant noodles. They are labeled and sealed. And that's it. And that's it. So, like the previous part, the previous slide, let's take a look at the previous slide, packaging the chocolate. So you just packaging the instant noodles marks the final step wherein they are labeled and sealed. And that's it. And you have a ready-made sentence to finish, to finish your writing academic chart description.
Yeah, I wrote down the final option. A very simple one. Packaging the noodles marks the final step, wherein they noodles are labeled and sealed. That's it. That's it. Ooh, I hope you didn't get tired. But actually, that's only 1% of the whole course we've got. And I want to give a talk about what you're going to learn if you join our group. So we combined all of the patterns, everything on the platform, which is Google Classroom, and you can watch the lessons about everything, like all pie charts, graphs, bar charts, lines, everything. So all of this beats are included there, but I promise that's only 1% of the information. And you have a step-by-step guide everywhere. So overall, there are 13 lessons on graphs, and I suppose how many? 7 or 10 lessons, yeah, about essays, IELTS academic essays. So at the same time, you'll have lessons on Google platform and boards on Mira, and many, many exercises. So you have homeworks, and all of the homeworks are thoroughly checked because we are the only like tutors who offer written checking, and we initiate the calls because we want our students to understand all of the mistakes they've made, and we discuss them individually, yeah, at individual sessions, at the time when you feel it okay and comfortable, weekly, not just once in a while, but we have individual sessions, individual checkings, and you'll have everything which is located on the board.
Yeah, I wanted to switch to Russian right now. То есть с таким фидбэком, еженедельным фидбэком, когда мы с вами встречаемся, обсуждаем ваши работы обсуждаем ваши работы, у вас не остается шанса для того, чтобы не оттренировать все key-фичи, все, то есть если мы говорим про IELTS Academic Part 1, все, допустим, key-фичи, все типы чартов, если мы говорим про IELTS Essay, это то же самое, да, все типы, подтипы IELTS Essay. И, конечно же, еще тоже побуждает писать каждую неделю то, что у нас с вами есть эти как бы назначенные созвоны, и вы никуда не денетесь, вам придется писать, потому что, да, созвоны ждут, и созвоны ждут, и это когда вас как urge you to write weekly. И курс по райтинг, он рассчитан на тех, кому нужен 6.0, но вообще на самом деле материал очень-очень такой обширный, он в каждый тип чарта рассмотрен со всех сторон, и даже если вы не умеете писать, у вас нет никакого prior writing experience, yeah, don't worry about that, because with our lessons, with the way, for example, we check your essays, the way we check your charts descriptions, and the way we give you feedback, you have no chance but to upgrade your writing skills. И стоимость райтинг-курса, получается, выходит 13 тысяч в месяц. То есть все материалы, все доски, все проверки и все созвоны. Но есть еще более такая выгодная подготовка, комплексная подготовка к IELTS, где вы готовитесь ко всем частям: writing, listening, reading, speaking, встречаетесь то есть если мы говорим про listening и reading, это групповые созвоны, как минимум один, каждую неделю в стабильное время. То есть у нас есть 2 расписания, вы выбираете то, которое подходит именно вам, вечернее или дневное, и ходите на практику listening и reading, то есть во время которой вы практикуете тестовую часть в тестовом формате, потому что это очень важно, то есть знать стратегии, соблюдать тайминг, разбирать ваши ошибки. Если мы говорим про speaking, то это speaking-клабы, да, которые у нас основываются на чтении статей. Мы обрабатываем всю статью, высылаем вам файл заранее, в котором вы выполняете все упражнения тоже заранее, и подключаетесь к speaking-клабу, уже зная, что вы будете говорить, как вы будете говорить и в каком формате вы будете это говорить. Карина?
Я здесь хочу немножко добавить, что комплексная подготовка включает в себя и райтинг тоже. То есть вы смотрите уроки на платформе, вы также можете с нами созвониться. Не то, что можете, а мы иногда give you a nudge. Да, мы сами инициируем все созвоны, и мы заинтересованы в том, чтобы студенты постепенно проходили курс, не самую последнюю неделю, да, смотрел хаотично все графики, а плавно-плавно погружался, и уже ближе к сдаче самого экзамена уже полностью был готов, просто повторял какие-то моменты. Занятия по listening and reading, Даша очень правильно сказала, это правда такая уникальная возможность, где мы не просто с вами сидим по 40 минут, вычитываем каждое задание, а в некоторых случаях мы буквально бросаем в воду, и это необходимая практика для испытания стресса. Потому что во время экзамена у многих студентов бывает такое: listening начинается, они все потеряют. То есть первые 10 заданий бывают просто в мусорку, потому что просто пока сориентировался, куда что нажимать, время убежало. Чтобы таких ситуаций не возникало, мы симулируем полностью экзамен. То есть симулируем и платформу, и показываем, куда нажимать, и что записывать большими маленькими буквами, то здесь полный гайд. То, что касается спикинга, мы также предлагаем дополнительно еще студентам индивидуальные спикинг-сессии на случай, если просто клаба кому-то недостаточно, и кто-то хочет индивидуально потренироваться. Это индивидуальные спикинг-сессии проходят строго только после групповых занятий, где вы уже отработали лексику, и вам достаточно только лишь освежить ее в памяти и применить на практике. Это самая комплексная история, которую вы вообще в целом можете увидеть. Мы работали в некоторых школах и видели, как это устроено у многих других преподавателей, и постарались создать тот формат, который максимально глубоко погружает, но при этом не вырывает людей из своего рабочего процесса, из своих рабочих дел, потому что по части listening и reading мы не даем практически домашних заданий, и видим в этом на самом деле большую эффективность, потому что на самих уроках, если вы подключаетесь регулярно каждую неделю, вы успеваете все освоить, и вам не нужно дополнительно еще сидеть дома, потому что активная практика включена в сами уроки.
Да.
Да, и Ага, и занятия проходят в группе по listening, reading, speaking, но при этом writing вы изучаете самостоятельно или с нами вместе, да, то есть вам не нужно ждать других, если вы убежали вперед. В целом у нас в расписании есть 3 живых урока в неделю и 1 урок в записи по письму, но так как вы платите подписку, вы можете посещать сколько угодно уроков в неделю. Максимум это 6, но вы, конечно же, можете посещать гораздо-гораздо меньше, только сколько вам будет удобно.
Да, и результаты не заставляют себя ждать. Наши ребята, вот, то есть в основном, если у вас уже есть B2, то с нашей подготовкой вы сможете забрать свою семерку. То есть это ребята, у которых есть уже есть законченный B2. Да, и стоимость группы, то есть если мы сравним, получается, курс по письму, то это 13 тысяч. Если мы сравним с вами комплексную подготовку, то это 16 тысяч в месяц. И входит туда все то, что мы только что с вами перечислили с Кариной. Да, и для того, чтобы записаться, вы можете написать «хочу на курс» или «хочу в группу», либо мне, либо Карине. Мы ответим на все ваши вопросы по курсу.
Я надеюсь, я вижу здесь. Спасибо вам большое за обратную связь. Мы постарались составить урок так, чтобы вас немножко вовлечь, чтобы это был не лекционный формат. И в целом мы работаем именно так с Дашей, что мы вводим какие-то интерактивы, мы стараемся на занятиях включить ребят в процесс. То есть вы не просто наслушиваете какую-то информацию, но, соответственно, очень нам важно, чтобы вы сразу же применили все быстренько на практике. И вы видите, что это не так сложно. Зная, как подойти к заданиям, зная, как, где что, какое слово добавить, у вас уже есть готовые материалы. Да, это может быть не готовые ответы, но как минимум готовые паттерны, которые быстро вы можете включить в свою работу, сэкономив время. Да, это для нас приоритет. Мы очень ждем. Курс начинается 15 июля. У нас стартует 15 июля новая группа. Поэтому не ждите слишком долго. У нас следующая группа будет только через полгода, наверное. Спасибо всем большое. Мне было очень приятно с вами работать. Если вам, например, показалось, что это слишком быстро, не переживайте. Возможно, просто еще недостаточно опыта, потому что IELTS — это определенный формат, и под него нужно подстроиться, к нему привыкнуть. Спасибо большое.
Спасибо большое всем. Пока. See you.